Conditions apply. The time by Sadiq Life is
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch. But before that, today the Morning Watch is sponsored by Bashco, the store that gives you more.
Well, if you want appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it in a Bashco. Get it in a Bashco. Everything with the need, it's like what you need and a Bashco. For your home, you get it up that.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the first watch today. The Republicans have won the U.S. presidential elections 2024. What now? And in second watch, snapshots in the news. What's to blame? Bad construction, bad weather, or mere time? All roads, including the new St. Thomas Highway, at risk or impacted, even destroyed. Secondly, in terms of snapshots in the news, excessively high number forced Jamaica Public Service Company Limited's outages recorded for 2020-2023. And thirdly, in snapshots in the news, lessons learned from the Uber NCB passenger confusion and probe. For our social media question, we ask, what's your response to Trump winning the U.S. presidential race? Share your responses in our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp, 876-9973-125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on the program, but first is I quote.
Hello. Good morning. Today's I quote says, a good idea deserves more than just living inside your head. Of course, this one is unknown, but very profound, if you ask me.
And again, one of these I quotes where the author is unknown.
That's right. A good idea deserves more than just living inside your head. So action it. The year's almost done, so just action whatever you're thinking about.
Just action whatever you're thinking about. And I think maybe should ensure that, of course, it is not just a good idea, but a moral idea as well.
Right, of course.
Not just a good idea, but also a moral idea, one that is something that God would be proud of. The first watch, we'll be back after this break.
every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music. It's a gospel music machine with the gospel music master.
gospel artists. Are you looking for your break in the gospel music industry? Are you a big sensation but not getting enough recognition? Well, submit your name and song via our email to the producer at love101.org. That's producer at love101.org. You and your music just might be featured inside music on a Friday at 2:15 p.m. We are the family station, Love 101, and we are celebrating music, family, and love.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music. It's a gospel music machine with the gospel music master.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. The Republican Party in the USA has won the elections. Donald Trump is the next president. This win, contrary to what the polls had been saying for weeks, was free and clear, it appears. And the word landslide has now even been used, or is now even being used. But now, with the elections being over, and there's now a president for the next term, what does the world, the Caribbean region, Jamaica, look like from where we sit? Was God's will done? And did we get the polls right in terms of what was being said before the elections? And of course, let us see what goes on from here. What is the next step? What will things look like going forward? We have on the line to discuss this morning Pastor Silburn Carr. Pastor Silburn Carr is a pastor of the Abundant Life Christian Church here in Jamaica. We also have on the line Reverend Basil Hanson. He is Bishop Basil Hanson and founder and CEO of MTM TV, and he's a Christian activist. Good morning, Bishop Hanson. Good morning, Pastor Carr.
Good morning, Stokeley.
Okay, we have you online so far. I don't know. Do we have Basil Hanson?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Stokeley. Good morning.
You're both online? Okay.
Good morning.
So, first of all, how
Yes.
happy, unhappy, sad, or fearful are we that Kamala Harris lost, sitting vice president, who was running for president, and Donald Trump won, a former president, and he would now be slated to sit in the White House again come January 2025. Starting with you, Pastor Carr.
Well, I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, the Democrats push too many negative, unrighteous policies like pro-abortion, pro-transgender, all of that. But on the other hand, I think the Democrats have more policies to uplift the middle class and poor people. The lowering of the prices of drugs, the plan to lower food prices, which is like trying to cut the gouging by the money people, and also a policy of basically supporting the minorities. On the other hand, Trump is more for the rich. He expresses support for the church, which is good. And but there are some. I have doubt about his character, and it came out clearly during the campaign because he was very mean to Kamala. He doesn't rate women, and as I said in the last program, he tells too many lies, much more than the Democrats. He is a man who wanted to strap NATO. Him say he wanted to be a dictator from day one. The 2025 issues, all of that. I'm going to tell you something, Stokeley. On Monday night, I dreamt that Trump won, and I don't tell nobody because I was so I didn't want that to happen because of what I saw going to the mass deportation. I think the man say no. There's a lot of things he said that I think will affect America negatively. So that I have mixed feelings.
I don't normally say these things on national radio, but it came into my spirit from about Friday of last week that he would win. Reverend Basil Hanson, your thoughts?
Well, thanks for having me, Stokely. You know that I've always been a supporter of Donald Trump, from 2016. I have always looked at not his character, but the policies that he supports, and I think some normality will return to America. You have to respect the will of the people in a democratic society. I believe the Democrats were rebuked by the people. Before the election, we saw a divided America where the narrative was that Trump was Hitler, was evil and wicked. And so we saw a split. But when you look at the popular votes, the American people voted for Trump, not just Republicans. And so it's a rebuke for the Democrats and their policies and what they are pushing. We will now see some normality in women's sports. We won't be seeing men, you know, disguising themselves as women and playing in women's sports. We won't be seeing those things. We won't be seeing the gay flag flying up at Ligani, at our embassy in Jamaica. Those things will not happen under Donald Trump. So we have to, whether we like it or not, whether we like his character, the message was very clear. The question was asked, were your life better off today than 4 years ago? And the people overwhelmingly answered, the pollsters should be fired today. A lot of deception, a lot of lies, and it's also clear that people are not listening to the legacy media anymore. People are getting their information and their source from other places, because the information that the legacy media was pushing was that 90% Trump was negative, and they tried to make Kamala the saints straight from heaven, which was not so. You cannot be pushing abortion and believe that that's all women see themselves as, and my body, my choice. I must admit that they coined that phrase very well. My body, my choice. But the thing is with that, Stokely, is that it's your body, your choice. So you can determine you don't want to get pregnant. You can do something about that. But the moment you get pregnant, it's not your body, your choice anymore. There is a body inside your body, and that is where the problem is. So I believe the American women have spoken very loudly that we are more concerned about other issues than just abortion. That's all Kamala pushed. That's all she shared. Abortion, abortion, abortion. And then the black people also send a message that we are not for handouts. We want to work. We want to have the American dreams. And Kamala was offering 25,000 for those who want to buy first home, and she was offering out money to small businesses. They rebuked her. We are not about handouts, and it's full time as black people. We realize who we are, and realize that we are not beggars, and we need to have value and worth. And then the final thing I want to say on this, Stokely, is that at the end of the day, we will see some semblance of normalcy, and we will see some semblance of unity going forward. The media has made out Trump to be this devil and unredeemable person, but I see some divine hand also at work in this election. And so what I'm going to read is Daniel 2, 19 to
Reverend Hanson,
23. Here's what it says.
Bishop Hanson, could you hold that reading of that scripture verse until after the break? I didn't want to cut you midstream, but we are a little bit past the break. Can you hold that thought, sir? Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Good Morning Watch is brought to you by Bashco, the store that gives you more.
All gospel RTX. Are you looking for your break in the Are you a big musician but not getting enough recognition? Well, submit your name and song via our email to the producer at love101.org. That's producer at love101.org. You and your music just might be featured inside music on a Friday at 2:15 p.m. We are the family station, Love 101, and we are celebrating music, family, and love.
Save on your PSA and pap smear tests with your NHF card. Get $1,600 off your PSA test and $1,300 off your pap smear test. Apply for the NHF card today. The time by the National Health Fund is
7:18 a.m.
When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
Don't let freshness stitch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Female soldiers in the Army of the Lord. It's that time of year again when Celebration Church presents Sold Out Women's Conference titled Militant. March 23 and 24 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Lot 1E Portmore Skating Rink behind the Portmore Mall. Call 876-648-3381 or 876-467-1527 for details. Ladies, wear your army fatigue for prizes and surprises. Refreshments on sale. That Sold Out Women's Conference, Militant. You don't want to miss this.
Breeze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plus, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
La, 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 la. Well, if you want fine appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Everything with the need, is guaranteed on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Your home and get it on Habasco. The thing and get it on Habasco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch. And the discussion topic for this first watch, the Republicans have won the U.S. presidential elections 2024. What now? Our guests are Pastor Silburn Carr and Bishop Basil Hanson. Just before the break, Bishop Hanson, you were about to look at a scripture from the book of Daniel. Would you like to continue, sir?
Yes, Daniel 2. As I was trying to say, Stokely, is that we have to get to that place where we understand that, the elite don't control the world. It is God who still controls the world. And no matter how man behave as if they are in charge, they are limited. And one of the things that I have found out is that when you put your trust in God, he will always come through. Always come through. Daniel 2 says, he knows all, does all. He changes the seasons and guides history. He raises up kings and also bring them down. We have to realize that it's not votes and democracy that puts up leaders. It's God. He uses the system, but it is God who moves the hearts of people because he's God. He can do that. And I believe it is God who raises up and puts down. I believe at this particular time, God is going to use Trump to teach America and the world a lesson. As to what the lesson is, I really don't know. But we will see as the days and the months unfold. But I believe God's hand was in all of this, because if God's hand wasn't in this, Trump wouldn't be here today. They tried to kill him. They tried to do everything that is humanly possible, and he survived. It has to be divine help. And those who don't want to admit that, you are joking. God's hand was all over this. And that is why Trump is still here today. Yes, Stokeley.
Yes. I just want to raise another matter in terms of what should Christians consider doing now. A lot of Christians supported former President Trump, and a lot of Christians supported Vice President Harris. What should Christians do now? And for those who are supporting Vice President Harris, what do they do now? Starting with you, Pastor Carr.
Just before I address that, I want to comment on something that Reverend Hanson said. 2016, I believe God allowed Trump to win for a reason. 2024, God has allowed him to win for a reason. You rightly said that. We don't know what that is yet. We are waiting to see what that is. All right? The other thing I want to mention is that Rev said the will of the people. The people spoke in the election. Kamala Harris called Trump, congratulated him, and said she's willing to make a peaceful transfer. When Trump lost in 2020, Trump had not even admitted that he lost, and didn't cause a smooth transfer of power. So when I come back again to the character of the man, I don't have no doubt that God is in this, and God allowed this, because I tell you, I have a mixed feeling, because the level of morality in America was reaching a place where the stench went up to God. All right, come back to now, forward to now. I believe that Christians who supported Kamala have to recognize that God has spoken through the people, and normality must come back to the country. And therefore, we have to pray for the people of America that the things that Trump promised to do, that he does not do it. Because what he said he promised to do, democracy would be destroyed, because Trump benefits from democracy, but he's not willing to allow democracy to work. Because how can a man say, if I don't win, it was rigged? When I lose, it rigged. When I win, it not rigged. The same system. So we have to pray for peace, stability, and that the country return to a place where a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and there is equity from the top to the bottom. I come back to my original argument. I have a problem with Trump's character. That is my control, my thing. Trump does not seem that him going to support Ukraine, you know. Him speak about Russia. I not worry about Israel. He support Israel. But if Trump support Russia in Ukraine, you know, say Ukraine become another part of Russia. These are the things that I have concern about. So we have to pray that God will influence Trump and his people around him in a way that don't cause chaos in America or in the world, because Trump is very vindictive. That is a character trait that I have a problem with. Trump does not look presidential in a lot of his speech. Or him can talk about Kamala as a sea woman, as an idiot, as a dunce. Or them things that bring unity. Or bring unity. I hope the rhetoric end now. That's my position. We have to pray for normality in government. Them talking about the weaponization of the DOJ. You hear what the man saying going to do? What I'm saying going to do about government? He's going to put in loyalists to clear out the civil servant. So I have mixed feeling, and I'm praying that it will work so that poor people and the people at the middle and the marginalized and the negative and the SO and the S all countries will get the benefit that they deserve. This is the same man that don't rate black people. Those are my few words.
Bishop, those who
yes. Stokeley, I think at this point, I think at this point, Christians all over the world should stop and do an introspection. Look at what you were supporting. When you look at what Kamala Harris was promoting, you have to ask yourself the question, are the things that she's promoting glorifying God? Is abortion glorifying God? Is LGBT glorifying God? Is transgenderism glorifying God? Is all of this climate change and all of these things glorifying God? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. We can't just go by what the media says or what people say. We have to think for ourselves. We have to think independently, and we have to let the scripture be our guide. And if the word of God is not your guide, then you are in trouble. I choose to support Donald Trump because he is not for killing babies in the womb. He's not for promoting these things, transgender men, as I said, parading as women, playing in sport. These are all the things that we would see under Kamala Harris. The world would have been forced to embrace all of these things, whether you like it or not. We cannot support that and say we are a Christian. I don't understand how a genuine born-again Christian could support somebody who promote all of these things and say you are still serving God. You are not. And we need to call those people who promoting Christianity and say they are Christian and supporting these things. You're not Christian. You go to church. Real, genuine, sincere Christian stands for what God stands for what the Bible stands for. And I am saying those are some of the reasons why I would rather support Trump rather than Kamala Harris. I'm not into whether you're a woman or a man. I'm interested in who is going to stand for the principles and what God stands for. And that is where I sit, and that is where I stand, and I'll not move.
And
so I'm promoting unity. Let's unite.
And in terms of any final words either of you gentlemen would like to leave before we end this segment in the couple seconds we have left, Pastor Carr, followed by Bishop Hanson.
I am saying that we have to pray that what is reported and how Trump speaks, what he say he will do, he does not do a lot of those things. I'm just praying that God will just change all of that, and we'll come back to a normal society in America.
Bishop Hanson.
Trump has too much divisive and too much hate language.
Bishop Hanson.
The king's heart is in God's hand, and like the rivers of waters, he turns it whichever way he chooses to. If God raises up Trump, whatever mission he has him to accomplish, he will and he must accomplish it. God is in charge of all things and all man. So we only can do what God would have us to do in our season. Thank you, Stokeley. God bless you.
Have to leave it there this morning. I want to thank Pastor Carr and Bishop Hansen for being with us as guests in this first watch. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back in the morning watch.
Time by Jam Bank is
7:31 a.m.
We have all been there. You feel the fear in your eye, you want to catch it early before you start feeling horribly sick. But between syrups, rubs, drops, pills, and sprays, it's hard to know what to use for its symptoms. Don't worry, Sherry comes to everything cold and flu. Choose Pharmacold and flu. This little tablet removes nasal congestion, sore throat, pain, and fever. Get on with your day. It's Pharmacold and flu. Distributed by Massive Distribution.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you'll have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Everything what you need, it's guaranteed on Habasco. Get up your home and get it on Habasco.
The report is out.
What report?
The Constitutional Reform Committee's report of recommendations.
Recommendations on what?
And how we move from a monarchy to a republic, of course.
So what's in it?
The creation of the office of president and changes to our parliament. Yes, man. It also includes a new qualification for membership in parliament. I know you want to see that one.
Read the full report at roadtorepublic.mlca.gov.jm.
We are on the road to republic.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have firstly in Loop Jamaica News, online of course. Wholeness Golding congratulate Trump on election victory. We have in the Jamaica Observer, 9 target 4. Candidates now set sights on November 22 by-elections. And it reads, among other things, 2 candidates who unsuccessfully contested the 2020 general election on People's National Party tickets, Lloyd Mosey Gillians and Rohan Banks, were among 3 candidates nominated as independents on Wednesday to contest the November 22 by-elections in Trelawney Southern and St. Andrew Northwestern, respectively. The third candidate, Carl O'Neill Marshall, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, who said he's still a member of the PNP, was also nominated to contest the St. Andrew Northwestern seat. And it goes on in terms of other details. And we now turn to the Gleaner. Trump, wait and see. Dejected Jamaican diaspora members cautiously watching for impact of U.S. President-elect's return. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, What's your response to Trump winning the U.S. presidential race? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, carry me.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music. It's a gospel music machine with the gospel music master. Favorite music of Christian contemporary, the touch of reggae, and the Caribbean feel. Gospel music machine. Music Master, Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight. You won't regret the links. It's on the family station. Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We move right into the second watch. Now, one could say that every year, thousands of people in Jamaica prepare their homes and families for a natural disaster, just in case. But how do we prepare in terms of the roads and the weather conditions that might cause a lot of damage to those roads? And then there is the inconvenience of perhaps having no electrical power, whether or not caused by the natural disaster or disasters. And on another note, would you happen to be one of the persons who was caught in the recent Uber NCB passenger confusion issue? What lessons, if any, have you learned? Let's talk about these news items in snapshots of news. We have as our guest today Mr. Michael Diamond. He is the president of Consumers Intervention Jamaica. Michael Diamond, are you on the line? Mr. Diamond, are you on the line with us? It would appear as if we I think he is or was online. I'm seeing some sign that he is or was online. Oh, I think we might have just lost him. Mr. Diamond, are you going to be? Unfortunately, it appears as if we might really have lost Mr. Diamond. I think he's now with us. Mr. Diamond, unmute yourself, Mr. Diamond. I think you're muted now. Mr. Diamond, I think you're muted. I see some sign that you are muted, sir. In the interim, just a reminder of what we will be discussing or propose to discuss in this second watch. They relate to the issue of the roads and roads in terms of the new St. Thomas Highway and the effect upon that road network consequent of the recent rains. We also have the issue of the excessively, or what appears to be the excessively high number of forced JPS outages recorded between 2020 to 2023. And another item we'd like to look at is the lessons learned from the Uber NCB passenger confusion and probe. A number of persons have been indicating that they had challenges in terms of that, and the representative of the relevant banking institution has been on record in the media indicating how the institution responded to what it viewed as an issue concerning that. Mr. Diamond, are you now with us? I think we're trying to reach him by another method. And in terms of this whole matter of the roads, there have been a number of videos circulating in social media. And among those videos that have been circulating, one might have seen reference to the conditions of the roads in the lovely parish of St. Thomas and how the rains affected that. And a lot of jitters were raised in terms of the JPS power outages. And persons are probably wondering again, tropical storm Raphael, which we just recently experienced in terms of rain and wind. It wasn't a full onslaught, but yet, there was talk of and issues in relation to whether or not there would be these outages. Do we have Mr. Diamond now on the line? Any at all? Well, I think we are now almost upon a break. And I think what we will do at this time is go to the break and see if we can resolve any of those issues concerning our connection with our guest, Mr. Michael Diamond. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Love 101, the family station, invites you to Tech Time Drive. You can hear Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you'll have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Everything with your need, that's why it's never need on Habasco. Your home, get it on Habasco.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Kay. She loved to dance and play. One day at school, she got very ill. And Mom was left with an unbearable pain.
The easier if mom was prepared, with School Companion, 80% of the bill is cleared. Medical care for children is a must. For as low as $2,540 per month, make unbearable medical bills go away. Sign up for Study for School Companion today. Conditions apply.
Don't let freshness stitch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch. The topic in this second watch is snapshots in the news. We'll be looking at the issue of the roads and how the recent weather events have impacted it or them. The matter of JPS outages between 2020 to 2023 and lessons learned from the NCB Uber NCB passenger confusion and probe. And we do apologize to all listeners for us not being able to connect with our guest, Mr. Michael Diamond, just before
Good
the
morning,
break.
Sir Stokeley.
Diamond, you are now with us.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
Now, first of all, sir, in terms of the snapshots in the news, the recent rains, St. Thomas Highway, and the impact that the weather has had on the road, the rains. Your thoughts, Mr. Diamond?
Well, ultimately, we know that the rains are nothing new, and the impact on our roads, again, still nothing new. We continue to see what happens when we have, substandard construction, and also we don't seem as if we're taking the lessons that we should have learned from all the other experiences that we've had with all the rains over the past several years. Nevertheless, it's very unfortunate, but there's going to be it's going to be a while before we can get our roads back to a level of, I don't want to say normalcy, but at least where we can traverse in a bit of comfort, because there have been significant damages due to the recent rains. Yes. And what are our infrastructure plan in order to help to mitigate some of these things in future? Because the lack of drainage systems really is the ultimate culprit for why the roads cannot last as long as they should, because the water is settling there for too long rather than being able to at least run in the drains, etc. So it is something that is nothing new. This is nothing new. The only issue now is that more roads have been impacted before some of the needed repairs and a little bit of remediation could have happened on their road project. So it's just very unfortunate, but there's nothing we can actually do at this time.
Why do you say substandard construction?
Let's use what we're seeing in St. Thomas with the new highway, that breakaway, and what you're seeing because the road has broken away. You're seeing how hollow that foundation was. So we have a situation here where we have consistently heard engineers speak to the fact that the current materials being used on some of our roads should not be used based on our own weather conditions and our own climate, that simply using mall alone, it's not going to work. It's a
Mr. Diamond,
something that's going to work. So it's almost
sometimes your line is not very clear, or maybe there's an issue with I don't know, maybe the bandwidth or some other thing to do with the transmission. But
and that's the thing. Imagine, it's interesting because it seems as if our road conditions is similar to how sometimes our services are, where it's not always consistent. But nevertheless, the materials that we're using in our road systems currently is not up to par. We've consistently heard this from engineers, and we continue to use mall and sand as if that is enough. No, it's not enough. So we really have to look at that to say, when are we going to make the necessary adjustments so we can have roads that last longer than 6 months?
Longer than 6 months. Well, I see. Well, moving right on to the whole matter of what can be described, or what some would describe as excessively high number of forced JPS outages recorded for 2020 to 2023. Is it excessively high, Mr. Diamond?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. And part of the issue that we do have the OUR.
Mr. Diamond, I hope you haven't lost you.
No,
Your line is, we're not
that
hearing it through the times, Mr. Diamond.
monitor
The last thing I think I heard you mention, we have the OUR,
these
and I have not heard much after that.
situations.
Mr. Diamond, I think we may need to try to connect with you on it by another method, because we were hearing you and then the line became spotty, or the hearing you through the platform became spotty. Let's try to connect with you by another method. All right, let us see if we can have him back on the line now, but by another avenue. Mr. Diamond,
Hello?
I think you're back now. Yes, you're back, Mr. Diamond. Let's try.
Morning.
We heard you and then we are not hearing you now. Unfortunately, you came back on the platform and now you're back on the platform again, Mr. Diamond. Yes. So, Mr. Diamond, sir. Mr. Diamond, let us go back to the studio just for a minute. We do apologize, listeners, for this challenge. Maybe let's go back to the studio for a minute, unless we are able to hear you now, Mr. Diamond, because I think you're back. Mr. Diamond?
Are you able to hear me now?
We are hearing you, sir. Yes. So you mentioned the OUR.
Hopefully this is a lot better.
Somewhat better.
Okay. This is so unfortunate because the fact that OUR monitors the situation with JPS, they would have been able to address that issue whether or not these seem to be unusually high. Notwithstanding that, we do have infrastructure issues where that is concerned as well. And when there is these planned outages, whether it be to repair or whether it's because of just load shedding in order to protect the grid, many of these things are necessary work that has to be carried out. I would say that the communication aspect of it with our consumers and customers may possibly be where the trouble resides. Being able to communicate that situation in a manner that would allow the customer to at least be more prepared in those events.
Well, I see. And this whole matter of put it this way. We know that when there is an adverse weather event, the JPS will tend to disconnect or cause the power to not come through the lines for whatever reason. And of course there is also the matter of safety, which is also very important. But in terms of the amount of times we have these kinds of weather events and the disruption, what does it say to us as individuals in terms of preparing? Because the inconvenience, of not getting the power through this central power system can be very impactful. It can be very impactful in a negative way.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And again, we do have to consider the fact that our infrastructure network for accommodating the distribution of electricity is not where it needs to be. And that is something that we often overlook. Once the power comes back on, that is never a consideration for us until it goes off again. So what we need to do, we do need to have a comprehensive plan, even if it's going to take us years, but we need to get to a point where we can provide this service in a more sustainable manner regardless of certain weather conditions. Because sometimes the weather, we don't have a full blown storm or hurricane, and yet still we're so deeply impacted. So the question now comes: what if when we face that type of system, what will we do then? How many months before we can recover? So we do need to start working on that particular infrastructure so that we can get to a point where we can make this service delivery a lot more sustainable and safer for everyone.
Yes. Well, let's change gears a little bit, only because of time again, because, never enough time on the morning watch. Lessons learned from the Uber NCB passenger confusion and probe. Recently, this issue came up. I found it very interesting when I heard some of the reports in that regard. Michael Diamond, would you like to just indicate, what came to your attention and what's your reaction to it, Michael Diamond?
So definitely, Stokeley, you'll know from a legal standpoint, my concern mostly focused on the institution itself, notwithstanding the malicious individuals who took to social media, to promote that unfortunate situation and basically speak to taking advantage of it. But more than that is how the institution responded to legitimate customers and how they abused their authority, our position in that situation in order to recoup or recover. The fact of the matter is we have to look to make sure that the institution did not abuse its authority or its position with dealing with customers and how they treated with that situation, because there are processes and consumer rights that are in place to prevent such from happening. So a part of the challenge I've had is that I didn't hear that aspect of that discussion being focused on, rather attempting to isolate a few individuals who maliciously took advantage of the situation, rather than what is the system, what rights were breached or could have been breached, and how did the institution behave in that manner. Because what happened is that most consumers or customers, they're unaware that institutions cannot simply go into your account and remove your funds, regardless of what their investigation is, simply because they have that authority to do so. There are protocols that have to be followed. So we need to look at whether those protocols were followed and how they were able to isolate which particular funds and accounts that they can do that too. So I wasn't focused on just a few who spoke about it and taken advantage thereof. I look at how did the institution abuse this position and how it treated the customers, because it is a very unfortunate thing to just deal with a manner just simply because you were in that position, when in fact you do have contract and fiduciary obligations to which you should have adhered to, rather than just putting all the onus on the customer because of your fault.
And for the benefit of the listeners who may not be so clear as to some of the details that are involved in this matter, I'll just briefly indicate Jamaica's NCB temporarily froze approximately 300 accounts due to unusually high volumes and types of transactions for Uber transport services. The bank confirmed a, quote, technical issue, unquote, affecting Uber transactions on Visa debit cards. However, there's no agreement between the Jamaican government and Uber International to operate in Jamaica. Well, so this short snippet on the internet reads, well, Mr. Diamond, I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts this morning in this snapshots of the news. We do apologize to listeners and perhaps to you as well, Mr. Diamond, in terms of any technical issues that affected the airing of this segment, and there were challenges with you connecting with us on the platform. But thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts in this snapshot.
Always a pleasure to be able to speak with you and our guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners, as well, for being with us. Join us again next week as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thank to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guest, John Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint, next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I am Stokeley Marshall, hanging back Love in the Morning with Chicago.
This morning's edition of the Morning Watch was brought to you by Bashco, the store that gives you more.